Hello, everyone. I'm Janet Tarantino, the host of Exploring Everything Spiritual and the author of the book Dying to See Revelations about God, Jesus, Our Pathways, and the Nature of the Soul. Welcome to my program where we'll dive deep into life's biggest questions and explore the mysteries of existence, consciousness, and the beyond. If you're new here, I'm so glad you found us. This is a space where open minds and curious hearts come together to expand, question, and grow. For those of you returning, thank you for being a part of this amazing community. Your interest, your insights, and your energy are what keep the conversations alive. Today, we have something truly special for you. So whether you've been with us from the start, or whether you're just beginning your journey, get ready to explore new perspectives, change the old beliefs, and maybe even discover something that changes your life. Now let's dive in. Today on Exploring Everything Spiritual, we have an extraordinary guest, Bill Letson. Bill is a retired fire captain who in 1994 had a profound near-death experience following a duty-related exposure as a firefighter. His story is one of transformation, awakening, and discovery. During his NDE, Bill left his sick and dying body and soared through the sea of exhilarating euphoria, filled with colorful, welcoming stars and orbs. He encountered joyful, playful beings who told him he had to return to life. For years, Bill kept his experience quiet, bending into normal life, as if nothing had happened. But after retirement, he began seeking answers, turning to the wisdom of Native American shamanic traditions and ancient, highly advanced civilizations. Through his journey, he discovered that an NDE is not an event, it's an invitation, a call to transformation, a chance to look beyond the physical life, physical self, and beginning of the ultimate hero's journey home. Bill's insights into consciousness, the afterlife, and the mysterious energy of Kundalini will challenge your perceptions, expand your mind. So get ready for a deep dive into the most fascinating near-death experience ever shared. Welcome, Bill. I'm thrilled that you're here as my guest today.
Hi, Janet. Thanks for
Hi.
having me. This is an honor.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. I'm sure everyone is eager to hear your story and what you've been going through. So, can you take us back to the day that everything started?
Yeah, it was 1994. I was working as a fireman in Santa Barbara. I was on a paramedic fire engine, and during that time, uh, we'd have flu seasons, and sometimes they'd be kind of rough. And in '94, we had something called the Beijing flu, and it exceeded the CDC's limits for an epidemic. And it was pretty rough. And we were running calls. It was come in waves, and it went on for several weeks. And we were we'd go to a few people a day usually. And on one, we went to this woman, and she'd been in her apartment, cooped up. And we got there, and the neighbors were like, "She's in there. We know she's in there, and she was sick a few days ago." So we broke in, found her in a back room, and she was circling the drain. And we went to work on her. And in with all the effort, I got over her face, and she exhaled into my face, and I breathed her um, breath in, and I felt it go, her hot breath go into my lungs. It's like we all do it with a kid or something. But yeah, I knew right away this isn't going to go good. And we got her to the hospital, and she turned out good. And within a few days, I was really sick, super sick. It was went downhill so fast. I really didn't understand to pay attention to it. But one morning I woke up and it was really hard to get out of bed. I was all hunched over and really dark, and I couldn't get a pulse in my wrist, and I knew that my systolic blood pressure was below 80 at that point, and and that's not good. You're not going to be conscious much longer. So I put the call out, and the family and fire department came, and they took me to the hospital, and I was feeling better. They put me in a room. It was packed with kids and old folks. The flu was just tearing through the community. And so I was kind of on the back burner. And they put me in a room and they kept giving me IVs. And I was feeling better. And I was thinking I could check out of here. You know, my wife was there and some of the fire guys were there. And and the nurse came in and she said, "We're giving this to everybody." They were trying to stay ahead of the everyone's, comfort. And so she had some drugs. One of it was a Nubane, which was a synthetic morphine at the time. It's off the market now. It was a precursor to fentanyl, and it didn't work out really well for the industry because it knocked people for a loop. Um, and I was one of them. And when she pushed that in, the girl was in a hurry. She's a good girl. But she pushed it in all at once, and my wife said, "You were sitting up on the bed and half dressed, and your eyes rolled back and you went straight back in the bed, and you were gone." And they couldn't get a blood pressure, and they Narcaned you 3 times, and went through all these. She said they were really fearful, and um, they packed you up and you were somewhat stable. She said the only blood pressure I heard was 40 over zero. And they got you up to intensive care, and that's where I spent the night. And I didn't know, I didn't know anything. I just knew I was talking to the nurse, and all of a sudden it was over. Um, but the next thing I remember, and it was like there was some peace, and there was like some darkness and some peace, and then all of a sudden I was flying through these stars, and that's all I could call them for years. But now you hear the term orbs. But I was flying through these stars and these colorful orbs, and they were so welcoming, and everything felt so incredible. I mean, just incredible ecstasy. And I was flying through these stars and I was still me. It was absolutely a seamless transition. I was still me, but I was not a human and I wasn't Bill. Um, and everything that Bill carried, all the, anxiety or fear of what's coming in the future, or um, anger or jealousy or judgment on anything, that all of that was gone. None of it that anything that happened here, all of it, none of it mattered at all. It was just something I was doing, like I was playing a game, or I was playing a joke on myself. And as I flew along, I was saying, how in the world did I forget who I really was? How is it possible that I was completely immersed in this character? That didn't matter. It didn't matter at all. Um, it was completely an illusion. And um, and I knew that my body was, my physical body was well behind. And to me, it was like a banana peel. It was like, what are you going to do with a banana peel? Just throw it away. Um, and the thought of going back, of climbing back in this tube, um, was out of the question. There's no way I'm ever going to do that. Because I was this huge expanded cloud. It seemed like I went on forever, and I was zooming through these stars, and everything was just acceptance and love and belonging and joy, and and it was wonderful. And everything was there. You could go on forever in that place. And I thought, man, this is great. I'm home. And then everything changed, and I was in um, a room. It had indirect lighting. It was lit well. It was bright, and there was equipment there. There were beds and equipment on the walls, and and then there were these guys. There were these beings, and they were standing right in front of me. They were about 4 foot tall, and they were these three little guys, and they were overjoyed to see me. They were giggling and they were bouncing around, and they were saying things like, "How was it? What can you tell us? What do you remember?" And I was very confused. All of a sudden, I was in this room. It was solid. I seemed to be solid again, or semi-solid, and and there were these guys, and they were very joyful, very playful, um, little jokers, and like little munchkins, giggling. And one of them came forward because I wasn't responding. I was just standing there with my mouth open, I think. And one of them came forward and he took a long look at me. And then he turned to the others and he said, "He doesn't remember us." And they all giggled and bounced around. And um, it was hilarious. And I didn't have any fear or any, I was a little confused, but I didn't have any fear at all. It was, I was just trying to sort it out. And I think when we leave our bodies, we go through this period where we kind of sort it out. We get through it, um, but I was in that stage. And then there was this other guy. He was in the background at first, and he was this tall. I call him the tall, wispy guy. And I've tried all these things that he's a stretched out Gumby, or he was like a walking stick insect, but he was this sliver of a person wrapped in this spinning vortex. Um, and it looked like, like if you spun water in a glass and looked at it, it had this movement to it. And as he came forward, parts of him would like separate and then it would catch up. And the whole while, it was this spinning energy. And he had this incredible, exuberant smile on his face. And you could see that he loved me. And as he moved forward, way more than see it, you could feel it, that spinning vortex of this being just engulfed me, and it was overwhelming. My chest just expanded like it was going to pop, and my throat tightened, and it was like you're watching a really good movie where a child is reunited with his dog or something, and you're in the movie theater and you're trying not to cry. And um, I felt this overwhelming need to fall to my knees and break down, crying and sobbing from love. There was so much love, palpable, energetic love. We have no idea the power of divine love. We don't really experience it here. Um, but it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming joy and love, and he had this chuckle. Everything I thought, it came out as I said it. We talk about being everything being telepathic, and that's true. But there it was a seamless thing for me. It was like I was talking, but if you thought something, it was out there,
Mhm.
and I think that's what we love about authentic, genuine people is there's not a front. They're not performing. You see what you get. Um, like we were talking before, like that's what I like about you. You're right out there. And so yeah, let's see, I got myself
Well,
worked up.
do you believe that the spinning vortex uh, man Was Jesus?
I do.
Yes, I do too. I do too. So he
Yeah,
was
and
reaching in from another dimension and wanted you to know he was there. I'm sure that's the case.
yeah, and but being a fireman and writing incident reports and stuff, all I've told my story from the beginning with just the facts. And there was, nobody introduced themselves or anything. But with everything that is we know about Jesus, that was Jesus. He had he had all the qualities.
Hmm.
And he just loved me. It was like I was a child. It really was. I was like a child because every time I thought something, I spoke it, and he chuckled. He chuckled at everything, and he was just this cheerful father figure. And at one point, the little guys were giggling and bouncing around, and he was chuckling at them, and then I would like say something, he would chuckle at me, and at one point I go, man, this isn't very organized. I'd like to get out of this clinical white room and back into that limitless space that I was in, where everything was possible and there were no downsides at all. And there was no containment at all. You were everything, you were everywhere. And so I said, you guys want to, we're going to do that life review thing. You guys want to get on with that? Um, And the tall, wispy guy just started cracking up. And he chuckled, and the little guys were giggling. And his answer was, sure, sure, let's do that. Well, how do you want to start? And I thought, well, okay. And so I started talking about things, It was not a life review as we know it, that people go through. It's very profound how you've impacted others and um, good and bad. It wasn't that at all. It was just me trying to check this box so I could get back to where we all come from. And so I told some stories, um, my wife wanted us to take this job on this island when we got out of college. It was a park ranger job for off the coast. And we'd be on the island by ourselves, and researchers would come out occasionally, and we'd show them around, and we keep an eye on some of the endangered species. And there's a little cabin out there, San Miguel Island, and she wanted to do that. But, I was 20 years old and I was a crazy fireman, and I wanted another fire season. And so I didn't take that job. But it's the only thing she ever really asked. She used to say, when are we ever going to get a chance to be on an island by ourselves? And so at 70, I would take it, but at 30 or my 20s, it seemed like it would be boring staring out to sea, but not now.
Mhm.
So yeah, I told that story and a few other things. And at one point, he steps forward and he goes, "Okay, that's enough. Time to go back." And that just floored me. I was shocked. I was like, "Go back?" I'd pretty much forgotten all about Bill, and I was go back. I'm not going back there. There's no way. And he's like, yeah, you got to go back. You got things to do and they're important. And, here it is 30 years later. And these things are, whatever I'm doing, it's something I was supposed to do. It's really obvious. And, and I put up a fight. I said I was, I'll be 40 soon. And, that's pretty much done, couple of things. And I was like, I got lots of friends, but they'll think about me, but they'll be okay. My mom and dad and my wife will probably be upset for a few weeks. And but I told him they'll come out of it. And he goes, I say they're strong. And he really chuckled at everything I said. And then he was kind of like, okay, come on, you're going back. And as he stepped forward, the place just started to break up. It started to come apart like I was being beamed out of there. And my room spun apart, and then he just sort of evaporated in front of me. And it was absolutely a falling sensation, like the floor dropped out. It was a drop in frequency, and I was coming back down to this very heavy earth realm with all these very heavy emotions. We have no idea how crushing this is here from where we really come from. And and a lot of people are looking for some kind of validation of their own spirituality. And everyone that listens to this will remember waking up from a nap or in the morning and having this falling sensation. And we leave our bodies at night, we soul travel, and sometimes we come back and sometimes we pick up on it. And so, yeah, if you're looking for some kind of experience, it's just remember that falling sensation, that's falling back into the world.
Yeah, yeah, that's astral traveling. At night is when you astral travel. Your spirit leaves your body and goes either to heaven or to where it desires to go. And oftentimes, when it's getting back into your body, you can't move. You feel like you're frozen until it actually re-enters the body. Did you feel that too?
No, no, but I have felt that sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I went through this period like 10 years ago where it was every night. I would I was becoming more awake as this process was going, and I would perceive things around me in my sleep, um, and it was kind of spooky. But then you get a handle on it, you get it under control, and it's nothing to be fearful of. We're just not really aware of all the non-physical beings that are around us all the time.
Right.
Family, lost pets, everything.
And dream visions, dream time is a time for spirit to communicate with us because our ego is set aside while we're sleeping, and we get a lot of communication during dream time. So that's important to be aware of. Everybody should be aware of their dreams and where they go. They can always ask to save the memory of their dream trips during the nighttime too, because we're not only guided at during the day, we're guided at night as well. Would you
That's
agree?
cool. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so to continue, so I had that sinking feeling, and when I got down near my body, I wasn't in my body, but I was in this place that was lonely and it was dismal, and you didn't want to be there. And I think that's this challenging realm that's all around us. It's part of our journey. It's part of our adventure here. And yeah, there were a lot of things that um, it didn't feel good. I felt nothing like where I was the second before. And um, then I got back in my body, and this is in this big, heavy rig that you got to move around in now. You got to energize this avatar, this creature, and I slowly woke up, and I was in intensive care. I could see the numbers of the equipment, taking my blood pressure and stuff, and the numbers kept improving. And then I was awake. I don't know, it was 5 or 6 in the morning. It was still dark, and the nurse walked by, and she was like, "You're awake." She was like really startled. And I said, "Yes, I am. I need to talk to you." And uh, she goes, "I need to tell a doctor. We didn't know what was going to happen with you, if you were ever going to come back, or, um, and so I said, okay, that's great. You can talk to the doctor, but first, what am I doing back here? And I was pissed, and I was like, I was home. I was home with my best friend, where I belong. How did I get back here? Bill had bought the farm, and I was sure of it. And she said, honey, you were in escrow, but you fell out of escrow, and now you're back with us, and you need to get your head around that. And she had her, she was an older nurse, and she had her hands on my shoulders, and she looked me right in the eyes. The uh, eyes are the windows to the soul, and she connected with my soul and said, "You're back here. Uh, you know, understand that, and you have something to do here." And I got grounded, and a lot of NDE people, listen to them. They didn't get that. They just stumbled through life, and nobody wanted to hear their story, and they couldn't tell it mostly. And and then there was this whole thing of why me? Why am I back here? That leads to addiction, and escape, and they'll lose 10 or 20 years after this, extraordinary experience. But I skipped that. I was I was sad, very sad for a couple of days, and it lingered for a couple of weeks. And I learned really fast. I got back to work and I told everybody, you know. In fact, when I my parents showed up in the hospital, I was just like, blah, 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 blah. You guys have no idea what we really are. And this is, we go to this really cool place and everybody loves us and it's all fun and light. And everybody thought, well, he's got brain damage, he's lost his mind. And I could see the disappointment in their face, and the doctors were making fun of me. And um, but when I got back to work, the guys were like, "Hey, dude, what happened in the hospital? Everyone's talking about this. You had this thing." And I'm like, "Sit down. I'll tell you what happened." And um, I didn't hold back at all until the word leaked down from the office that, the chiefs are starting to talk about you, like you're a kook. And it's like you better button it up. And so I zipped it, and I dummied up for 15 years, but I knew it was real. And um, it was just my thing, and it wasn't a burden. It was just, okay, we really don't know what's going on here. Um, but there's nothing to worry about. And, if somebody was suffering with something, I would talk to them. If they came to me, I would open up and say, we've got it completely backwards. Um, we're in a really challenging place. There are no challenges at home, and everybody we love is there. Um, so that's how it went. And then I retired in 2010, and I was led to this kind of looking around for answers to what happened to me. And when you look at what the shaman know and what the ancients talked about, um, and the stories there in religion too, there's a lot of confusion here and there, but the basic story is out there, and it's a fantastic story. We've got it made.
Yeah, true, true. Can I ask you about first of all, can I ask you about the orbs you saw?
Yeah.
Do you believe those were other spirits?
Yeah, I believe they were what we all are, and we continue back, and we are this luminous, glowing particles of joy that have no limitations, and we're flowing in a sea of the purest essence of love. That's as basic as I can put it.
Mhm. Do you feel that what we're floating in, the essence of love, is actually the creator himself?
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, creation, creator, uh, creativity. This is where we're closest to God, with music and art and dance and flow. That's when we're at our best, when we're being creative. And, we you pack that all the way down to the creature that we are, animating. It's all creation.
Mhm. Yeah, so many people say, I wish I was an actor. Well, you really are. You're playing your part in this lifetime too, if you consider it that way. Mm,
Right.
yeah. This white room that you were in, did it have floors? Can you explain that? Describe it. Was it just an atmosphere? Was it the in between that you were in? And was there floors? Did walls, or was it just equipment in your local area?
It seemed like, there is that wispiness to, if you're going to look across the room, there wasn't anything wasn't sharp. There was this wispy, foggy thing. But it right around me, there was um, tables and beds and equipment, and it was white and bright and it felt good. The guys in there felt good. Um, it was like a facility. It seemed like, if you have a memory of being at the doctor's office and you're sitting on the bed, your memory would sort of fill in that, okay, there was a bed, I was sitting there, and there were people in front of me, and we had this conversation, and that's what it was like. So yeah, you hear this a lot. People say I was in a white room, and one lady said she was in it was like a similar to mine, and that there were three beings there, but she couldn't see their faces. They were beings of light, and they had hoods, and you start putting all these puzzle pieces together, get a picture of a really wonderful afterlife, and um, the whole thing is just a gift.
Hmm. Hmm. I've seen those spiritual beings because I went up above, into the whiteness, and was found myself before a council of high spiritual beings, and it was in the whiteness too. So that's a pretty common experience in a lot of NDEs. So um, that I was there for a lesson review. So somehow they're related to our lessons too. So yeah.
So, that's interesting because I have a lot of experiences, and some of them it's like I'm at a podium, and there's people sitting down in front of me and they're like taking notes. They're expressionless. And sometimes they're smiling broadly, and sometimes they're just expressionless, like I'm, I'm giving a book report or something. And anyway, it's interesting that you said you were at a review. I've seen these things. I've experienced these things.
Mhm.
They're wonderful. All the people look, they're young and they're very professional. And sometimes I'm up there given like a song and a dance, to be in entertainment. And sometimes they're looking at me like you're looking at me now, kind of like we're not entertained. They're,
You're very entertaining.
but it's like quit clowning around. When you're done clowning around, we're here for business. And I didn't mean you were looking at me that way, but you were just kind of uh, amused, uh, but listening.
Yeah. Well, I can picture it in my mind and how they were probably reacting to you. So yeah. They were giving you a chance to express your point of view before they stepped in again.
That's cool. I like it when I'm around them. I mean, yeah. This thing, have you heard this thing about the afterlife party?
Yes.
Like a dinner, a formal event. I have been at a lot of those, and my parents are there. And one time I was, you know, my dad was there and he was young, and it was everybody's in tuxedos, it's formal table. And mom came through the door and everyone was applauding. And I go, oh, there's mom. And I started, and he goes, hey, hey, hold back. They're honoring her. And and I go, really? He goes, yeah, this is her night. And everybody was handing her flowers. And that afterlife party is really cool.
So you've actually been to it in spirit?
In
But you're
spirit, yeah. In, I have a lot of dreams that aren't dreams.
Mhm.
And um, I'm at those afterlife parties a lot. Everybody's just so happy.
Mhm.
Everybody's so proud of you and each other, and it's unlike anything we'd ever can imagine.
I have not been to spiritually in afterlife party like that, but my mom spoke of it during her when she was nearing her death. She kept looking up and she said the gatherings starting to happen. And then as the days got closer, I said, "Is it getting bigger?" She says, "Yes, it is." And so she could see that there was a gathering happening. And I said, "Well, let's put out an invitation list who you want to be at your after party life, and then we'll put it, we'll release it to the universe, and so you can see the loved ones that they're probably going to be there anyway, but you're initiating that invitation." And I said, don't forget to invite Jesus and God, and you can invite people that you've read books on, anybody virtually. But I think that's a great way to ease the fear of dying for those that are getting close. So she enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's great, man. Good daughter.
So I have heard about them and she spoke of them. So I have no doubt that they are good, that they do happen. Mhm.
Yeah, that whole side, the other side is all light, and different frequencies of light is what feeds us. So we're at these giant feasts and stuff, and we're dining on light. We're being filled up with the light of goodness. And here on Earth, that light is, it's coming from the sun and it's in our food. And when you eat that high vibration light, um, that feeds our soul, which is inside our body. It's the whole thing's all connected. It's
Mhm.
all light.
Mhm. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Have you ever thought about the nurse that had, took your shoulders and said, "You're back now. You gotta uh, get with the program here now." Do
Yeah,
you
I think.
see her again
No,
after
I
that?
never saw her. I never saw her again. That hospital closed a few years later, and but she, been helping people her whole life with her awareness, awareness of, okay,
But you
yeah,
never saw her again after she told you that. Do you
no,
think she was a spiritual being or one of your jolly fellows that came back to took on that form to try and uh, encourage you to be part of life again?
I would not rule that out.
Yeah, there's angels among us, so.
Right. I would not rule that out because it was so, it was good. It was, it was good. I got back into Bill and got back into character,
Mhm.
literally got back in the body, and I went on with my life and was very productive. And I didn't worry that, I was considered a kook if I spoke up. I didn't care. I knew it was real. And she kind of let me know that. It's like you've had something extraordinary happen, but now you're back here where those things are not
Yeah,
normal.
normal. A normal person would not know about that unless she's had an experience too, or she was a spiritual being. So it's
Yeah.
just something to ponder on.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was super lucky.
Anyway, yeah, that's awesome. This you've mentioned in other programs that you had a dark side event.
I had excuse me?
You went to the dark side or something like that.
Well, when I came back, it was a very crushing environment. And I think that is what's all around us now. I think that's the challenge of this place is, for those of us that don't become aware in this life and pass on, we don't travel very far back home. And so we're here trying to get back into a body or trying to um,
Okay.
have more fun or something. And those energies are really hard on us.
Uh-huh.
And and while we're here, we need to protect ourselves from those energies.
Absolutely.
You know,
Uh-huh. Okay,
there's
then I understood what was coming across. I'm glad I asked that question. So it wasn't that you went to the dark side. It's this side is so heavy. It feels like the dark side.
yeah, and I think it's all a divine um creation. We come here for the challenge of these lives and to raise our vibration, to become aware, to look within, and to recreate with or reunite with creation and raise our vibration. And then we vibrate out of here. We earn our wings. I really think that's exactly what's going on. Um, because when I was in the light, my vibration was super high and everybody was super happy.
Mhm.
And down here, uh, you can um, find people that aren't very happy. And this is where unhappiness occurs. And we learn to,
How, how to overcome it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I think.
Resiliency. Yeah. I mean, we learn more from hard events than we do from happy events.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, the gifts.
yeah. See, I was going to ask you, do you think these events were planned before you came?
Oh, yeah.
It's part of
I,
your life plan, so to
yeah,
speak.
I think that we're in like a lot of people say this, we're in a play or a movie, and there's a script to the play or the movie. We've got free will within the script, but the big things that are going to occur um, are going to come around. And there's an order to this place. There's an order to our life. Um, and we can choose Coke or Pepsi, and we can go to bed at 9 or at 11. But, the big things like, are you there for your mother when she's getting ready to pass? Those things are going to come. And if you miss the bus on that or miss the timing, they're going to come again. Um, there's some big things that we signed up to challenge ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah, and we actually don't even recognize that until we look in the rearview mirror and look back on our life. Then we'll see these events that were significant in our lifetime, and then
Big,
we can start to understand what we learned, what we're here for.
yeah. Yeah, there are big moments
Mhm.
when the tsunami's coming and either you're going to choose to get off the beach or you're going to go down by the shore. You're going to choose the lower vibration or you're going to realize that I can do some good here by putting myself at the end of the line, putting my needs at the end of the line and helping someone else. Um, yeah, they're big moments.
Yeah. So would you say love is important?
Loves everything. That's why those guys are all giggling and happy and joyful, and he was chuckling because it's you're just overwhelmed with love and light,
Yeah.
and and that's everything.
Yeah. And do you believe these orbs are your guides?
The orbs that I was
I
flying
mean, not
through,
the orbs. I'm sorry, the little guys.
um, like we talked about, I think this is a stage, and I think, or like we're in a movie, and the stage has stage hands that keep things running smoothly behind the scenes. And our ancestors weren't a bunch of Goombas, they called them things like leprechauns and elves and um, trolls, they could see those things. They were closer to the earth. They walked on the ground with bare feet and they drank water from streams. And so you were more full of creation and you were closer to the creator and you could see um, his assistants, his workers. And yeah, I think they're stagehands and that's what I think.
Okay. And so, can you tell how they communicate with you?
How they communicate?
Do they communicate with you in certain ways so you know you know, what you should be doing, guiding you,
Um,
like, more or less?
the interesting thing is with me is that that word communications funny because when I wake up in the morning, it's maybe once a month, but my wife talked about it when we were first married. She said, when you are in that place between dreaming and sleeping and waking, she says, you're giggling. You're moving around like there's puppies, tickling you, and you're giggling and you're talking in some nonsensical language, like really foreign thing. And you just seem so happy. And she goes, what's going on? And I go, well, there are these guys around me. I can't really get a fix on them, but they're they're giggling and they're coming around me, and I just they're like puppies or dogs, climbing around on you. And um, I said I could stay there forever. They're just sweethearts. And so those guys, yeah, they're around all of us. I don't think like where we are here in this world, I think we're at a lower light frequency. So we think we know everything around us, but there's all these other light frequencies around us, and those guys are in those frequencies, dimensions, other realms. They're all around us. They're watching us all the time. I think that's what the Freemasons have that big eyeball that everyone's afraid of. It means something. I think it just means that the universe is watching.
Sure. Hmm.
Your
That's
ancestors, the collective consciousness, God, creation is everybody's watching us.
Mhm.
And what are we going to do next? Like that movie, The Truman Show. That's what that movie's telling us is the true man. Um, is being, sort of manipulated into these adventures. And that's what that's all about, that we're not aware, on the air and unaware. That was on the movie poster. And that's us.
Mhm. Many NDEers describe returning to life with heightened intuition, psychic abilities, and even um, physically feel different. Did you experience any of that? I mean, I know you felt physically different because you didn't want to come back in the first place, but do you have other gifts that you brought back with you?
Yeah, I could tell with people, I could tell you and I talked about uh, where a lot of people are performing, but like authenticity, genuineness. And if somebody was holding back something that was not a high uh, frequency, um, not good intent, you could you could see it even walking in the room. You could, like Dr. Mary Neal. Uh,
Hmm.
when I went to one of the IONS conference, I walked into this big old room, and there was literally a light coming down from the ceiling and uh, encasing her. She was in the middle of all these people, and I was like, "Well, there's Mary Neal." And she definitely has this. I mean, she's definitely came with a mission,
Hmm.
and um, and she's doing really well at it. And it was hard. I met her and I talked to her in an elevator, and she said, we just kept riding the elevator, going up and down, because I was so overwhelmed, and she said, you're around a bunch of macho men with the fire department. It must have been hard. with your story. And I said, well, yeah, I just stopped telling it. And I said, what about you? You're a physician and you had all these experts that have all the answers. And just her eyes went down and she was like, oh, well, it just was out of the question. They weren't accepting any of it. And you could just feel that that was really hard on her.
Oh, sure. Hmm.
And she's a star,
Hmm.
just like you.
Yeah, I enjoyed her NDE as well because I remember she was putting it off writing about it, and she was felt like she was thrown out of the bed and told to get busy. And something similar happened to me. So it, it's funny how the likenesses for different people happen. So yeah,
Right.
yeah, and you have just a wonderful way of explaining your experiences too. So is there anything else you want to add before we?
I just want to add, you and I talked about this off the air, but you had such an impact on me, similar to Mary Neal, when I saw you in Washington or Virginia. I was kind of down on, I can't, do this. I can't get up in front of people. I'm making a fool of myself, and I was down on myself. And then I saw you on a panel, and you were sitting up there, and you were looking at the audience, and I call you no nonsense because you're almost pounding your hand on the table, going, listen, this is real. This is important. Uh, you know, um, and I'm like, I need more of what Janet has. She's she's she has embraced what's happened to her and she's taken on the teacher role. And I need to do that. And it was coming from somewhere else. It's like you need to follow her lead. Um, stand up for yourself because this isn't something that people can take or leave. It's really happening. We're on our way somewhere quickly.
Yeah.
And so I just want to let you know that you're one of my heroes and you influenced me incredibly with your no nonsense, pay attention lecture. And I loved it.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you're making a difference too, because you've got a video out there, that's over 11 million views?
Yeah, there's a couple that are going pretty good. I really like the ones that are in other languages. I think that's hilarious. That's
Oh, well, I'll have to check into that one. So, yeah, I know they're going to that now with different language options for people. So, yeah.
yeah, those videos. I'm not that popular. I'm not that cool. The we're talking about creation's God's hand in the world. Those videos are popping up on people's YouTube sidebar or something. I've gotten calls all the way back from grade school saying this video of you popped into my thing and I wasn't even looking, but my father died the next day,
Oh,
and he said I just had to track you down and tell you that you saved my life. But yeah, creation's hand is in our world. It's having fun.
mhm.
Um, and whatever I have to say is some message that I was supposed to say. And I'm just a conduit. And what's going on is really cool. It's really exciting.
It's fun. If you make it fun and enjoyable, uh, you'll expand what happens. And I think that's the best thing you can possibly do. Because if you shut it down, you're missing out on miracles that are all around you. And that shouldn't be done. So
Well
great.
said. Well
Thank you.
said.
Yeah. So your story is always captivating because you have a way of telling things with the humor. And that's everybody loves that.
You
So
know,
go ahead.
that's interesting you should say that because I think I thought I was all tight and stuff. But I was telling you about the other side, the tall, wispy guy, Jesus, uh, was chuckling. All he did was chuckle, and all the little guys did was giggle. And somehow Bill, uh, and everything about him, he steps aside when I get the conversation, and this really happy, part of me, part of the other side comes forward. And if you're picking up on that lightness or laughter or whatever, it's the other side. It's what we all really are once we dump the load of being a human.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's all true. It's
It's true.
unbelievable, impossible. Things I say are ridiculous, but it's all true.
Mhm.
It's all good news.
Yeah. The other side is wonderful. Okay, so before we wrap up, though, do you have anything special that you'd like to leave the listeners with?
Yeah, my NDE story is out there. There's a lifetime supply of videos of me telling the same story, and um, I think the NDE is a first step for humanity. You get to a point to where you've somehow raised your vibration or something that was preordained, and the NDE is an invitation. The out-of-body experience, the synchronicities, the spiritual transformative experience, these are invitations for you to stop churning and look inward. Uh, Look inward to what you really are. Uh, Drop all expectations and look inward. And you'll start to realize that um, the NDE, it's a function of this death process where the pineal gland releases this DMT and it splashes the brain with a big um, dose, and it rockets us into our consciousness, our soul, into our home dimension. And every night, like Janet said, when we sleep, it drops a little bit on and we soul travel. We move into the astral. This is all the action of the pineal gland, the seat of the soul. And the shamans with their medicines and ayahuasca and things like that, they have figured this out that this concoction can give you a profound spiritual experience. But it's really rough. You're kind of invoking your own near-death experience. So I don't recommend it. I've done it, and it's harsh. But the other thing is that looking in, getting quiet in nature, getting still in silence, and get that deep meditative state where it's almost a trance, where you're sort of putting yourself asleep while still being awake. You can work with the pineal gland and that sacred fluid, the DMT, and you can move into these realms and you can see deceased pets and ancestors that are moving in the room. And that's where we're going. We're supposed to wake up now, um, and climb into another golden age where we're well aware that we are walking hand in hand with creation. Um, right now, we're very asleep about it, but this is the wake up time. So that's what I'd say is that, meditation and stillness in nature and getting back to the basics of creation, how the creator put this place together with the food and the water and being in the sunshine and feet on the ground. And when you do that, you acquaint yourself with who you really are and what you really are. And you just this amazing, infinite being. We all are.
Wonderful. That's excellent. And I'll give a tip too for people that want to try the meditation. When you close your eyes, roll your eyes upward and toward so that you're looking up here. And then everything, try and keep it there as long as you can. That quiets all of your thoughts because you're concentrating on keeping your eyeballs rolled up there. And then you can, as you are meditating, look into the darkness while your eyes are up, and you'll start to see eventually as you practice colors and figures that come forward because you're getting a glimpse into the other world. So that might help. It helped me tremendously, so that's why I'm passing it along. So
Yeah,
Okay.
that helped me because I do that often, every day, and now I talk. I still sound like I'm crazy, but I talk with an absolute confidence because you can drop into that place in a couple of minutes,
Mhm.
once you do it for a while. And that is the best advice anybody could ever get.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. So now I'm going to talk to the listeners and listeners with Bill's story fresh in your mind. We'd love to hear from you. So drop your thoughts, your questions, or your insights into the comment section as we truly value your perspective. Both Bill and I will keep checking in regularly, eager to connect and respond if you leave a message there. And after all, your voices and ideas keep the conversation alive. So let's keep the discussion going. And Bill, I want to say thank you. I'm filled with gratitude that you shared your story with us today. And back to the audience as we wrap up today, I just want to take a moment to thank you, my dear listeners, for being here to listen to these incredible experiences. And no matter where you are, whether you're walking, driving, or simply tuning in with your headphones, now that know that your presence truly matters. Investigating everything spiritual isn't just about stories, ideas, and voices. It's about a deep connection between souls and our shared journey through life. So until next time, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Remember your voice, your story, your presence matters, and that most of all, love is the highest and best gift we can give to each other. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share these videos, and join us again. Goodbye, everyone.